I got the internship at Disney, and then I decided, I loved to travel. And so I ended up working back in South Africa for a number of travel companies, but always an aspiration to work for an airline. And then the opportunity came with Emirates. And like I say, the rest is history. Been with Emirates for nearly 10 years now. First.
Let's go way back to when you were, say, 9 years old.
Okay.
So what kind of a kid were you?
Growing up as a kid, I was lucky enough to grow up on a small farm, so I loved the outdoors, played outside a lot. At the same time, I read a lot. It's something that my parents instilled in me from a very young age, is reading is knowledge. So I think quite well balanced outdoors person. Love to play sports, play rugby. As a South African, obviously, with the rugby right now, it's one of the highlights of, every 12 years at least we get to take the cup back home. Yeah.
And what kind of lessons did you learn from your parents that you've sort of incorporated into the kind of a person that you've become today?
I'm learning from my parents. The one thing my father said to me when I was very young, is to find something that you love, that you want to do. If you find that one thing that you love, it's something that you will enjoy for the rest of your life. So they gave us a lot of freedom, and I think that is one thing that they allowed me, that freedom to express myself, to live, and that's how I ended up working for a company like Emirates. It's given me again the freedom to work in so many places across the world.
Do you think the youth of today are taking risks when it comes to their career? Do you think they're pushing harder, or maybe they become complacent and just agree to what they're told?
I've got 3 small children myself, so it's trying to figure out that balance as to where they're going to be one day, where they can achieve. The world has changed so much over the last couple of years. With technology, there's so much more knowledge accessible to people as well. And I think the careers of the future is changing as much. So even for me to keep up with that at this stage and to understand where the youth is going to be, I think there's obviously a lot of challenges if you look globally at these type of things, but I think there's a lot of opportunity still, especially in Africa. Having my whole life, I've pretty much worked in Africa, in so many countries. There's a lot of opportunity, so much growth that still can happen in this continent.
What will the 2020 Chief Executive Officer need to have to be successful in business?
I think at this stage, you're working with, we talked about the youth, you're working in 3 different generations in the workplace currently, so just on that side makes it very difficult, so if you've had a chief executive that's been there for many, many, many years, now to adjust to the new workforce that's coming in, the 20 plus, that is so advanced in technology, the type of experience that they require in the office at work, is very different to what the experiences that your 50-plus-year-olds that's in the work environment need. It's the constant interaction, the feeling of family, being part of the greater good, contributing to society. Is to understand how to balance all of these sides in the business environment, I think is very important.
When you look at a job applicant, let's say their CV, what strikes you the most? Is it their education? Is it their experience? What do you look out for? Is it their interests and hobbies?
I think I look at all of that. For me, it's very important to have a well-balanced person. I always say, for me, interviewing people, attitude is more important than the competence on paper. Anybody could put competence on paper down. But once it gets to the interview stage, it's really to understand, is there a fit? Will that person fit in the culture of the company? Because also you need someone to be happy in the environment that they work in. So for them to have a fit in the company is as important as just the experience and the knowledge that they bring to it. So I think it needs to look at everything and see how that fit will work in the work environment. Yeah.
So what's the next big thing in the airline business? And how exactly are you positioning yourself in relation to this?
In the airline industry right now, like every other industry, it's technology, is big data, is to see how that can be utilized, in the airline specifically, is to see how that can enhance the customer experience. For instance, what we're trialing is biometric systems at the airports. That's quite a big thing right now, so where people will go through the whole checking experience by just using the facial recognition. So instead of having the traditional where you have to get your passport out 3-4 times and have your boarding passes, everything will work on facial recognition. And then, like I said, big data is another really big thing at this stage. So I think going forward, data mining obviously is very important, and any leaders should understand how they can utilize data, and how that data impacts on their individual businesses.
Hendrik, thank you so much.